Good morning, everybody. I hope we are all doing good. Happy Monday. We thank the Lord for a new week, for our lives, and for all the things that He's given to us so freely. Life, good health, some of the things that we just take for granted because we think we deserve it, we think we own it, we think we just ought to have it. But actually, it is just by grace that we are alive. It's a new week, and I wish you well with everything that you decide to do. I pray that everything that you want to do is a success, and you gain your heart's desires in this week. My name is Sika. I love you all. Thank you so much, Chima, for being here, and everybody else who's joining us as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. This morning, I just wanted us to have a brief conversation about life and some of the things that we ought to be doing if we're going to own the things that we go through, accept them for what they are, and make progress in our lives as people. Sometimes, or a lot of the times in this life, when we go through difficult challenges, one of the things that keeps us from making progress and moving on with our own lives is refusing to take responsibility for the actions that you took, the roles that you've played in whatever is happening to you and how that is affecting you. When we do things and we succeed, right? When we succeed in the things that we're doing, we get so excited about it. We're quick to take ownership of them. And I don't know why there's so much vapor in my glasses this morning, but hey, here we go. I can still see. Let's talk. Is that we're so excited to take ownership of the things that we do, that we get right. We want everybody quickly to know that we are the ones that have done whatever it is, and we're quick to take responsibility and own the things that we do. But unfortunately, sometimes we also falter. We also do things that are not quite right. We don't get it right all the time because we're just human beings. But unfortunately, when we don't do things right, we are not the easiest of people. Human species are not the easiest living creatures that like to take ownership of your own part in what has happened. Especially if you're somebody who does a lot of self-reflection on your life. Things that have gone well and things that haven't quite gone so well. You realize that you're very proud of the successes in your life, but it's so difficult for you to take ownership of the mistakes that you made in the things that haven't gone so right for you. There's this popular saying that it takes two to tango. No matter what circumstance you find yourself in, there is definitely some action or inaction that you also took, which is why whatever it is hasn't gone out right. There's always two people in a marriage or relationship, for example. And yes, maybe the other person did things that hurt you or upset you, and that is why you've decided that you don't want to be married anymore. But anybody who's done any little bit of science knows that action and reaction are equal and opposite. And so when somebody does something to you, there is some kind of a reaction. Your reaction may be to be quiet, and that is an action in itself too. And that can also cause things to not go quite the way you want it to do. Taking accountability for our actions that we ourselves have taken in a situation is not something that is second nature to us. It's something that you actually have to cultivate the habit and ability to be able to do. By refusing to own what you've done, the roles that you've played, the situations in which you find yourself, the decisions that you made that were not quite right, is part of progress, it's part of growth, it's part of maturity. You're a young person, everybody is getting married, and so you also need to get married. So the next bloke or sister that comes along, you're quick to jump in. You haven't done your own due diligence. You don't know where this person has come from, but you're just so fixated on being married, so you want to do everything humanly possible to get married. Did you pray about this person? Are you even sure he's actually a person? Where does he come from? Where does she come from? Who is she? Why are you marrying her? Does the person's goals, objectives, and beliefs in this life align with yours? And we don't do all of these things and then we jump into the marriage. Oh, he's such a lovely guy. He doesn't even talk so much. He's so amazing. And so you jump in. When the marriage doesn't work out or the tables turn, this person that was fantastic is now abusing you in some way, or is so horrible to you, doesn't pick you up, doesn't support your dreams, doesn't speak life into anything that you have to do. It's easy for us to turn around and blame the other party. That I was ready to get married, I loved him so much, or I loved her so much, but she didn't feel the same way. But we also forget that we ourselves have also opened ourselves up and allowed the situations to happen to us, whatever it might be. You're desperately looking for a job, so you have to cut corners. You do absolutely anything to get a job. I get the desperation. I get the fact that you need to survive and earn an income. I get that. But do you have any moral scruples? Are you just going to do anything it takes to just have the job? Even if it doesn't align with your morals, even if it doesn't align with your beliefs as a person, are you just going to do it because that's what everybody else says to do, right? You're looking for a job, you live in a place where if you're a woman, the only way you're going to get a job is if you agree to be some old man side chick. So just because you want a job, you're going to cut the corner. You know it doesn't align with you. It's not really what you're made to be. But just because you're desperate for that job, you're going to allow somebody who doesn't deserve the right to see anything that is below your navel to see it, right? And have access to it just because you want to have a job. Hey, big brother, how are you doing? I hope you're doing good. Greetings to you too. Happy Monday. Right? So we're prepared to do just about anything to get the things that we want. But then when the thing backfires, we don't like to take ownership of our own, the places and the roles that we played in allowing things to go amiss in our lives, right? Taking accountability for your own actions in any situation, whether good or bad, is maturity and is part of growth and development as a person. How many of us are prepared to acknowledge our faults and mistakes as a person in today's 2023? How many of us are proud to stand out there and say, oh, I did certain things that I'm not so proud of, but just because I'm a human being, I'm taking ownership of this particular thing that I did, that I can now see was wrong. And I'm taking every possible means to make sure that I fix things. I fix my roles that I played in this situation. I look back on life and think about the certain actions that I took which were not really right, and prepared to grow and mature out of those things and become a better person for it. How many of us are prepared to do that? We only want to cover up. We want to put this facade out there that we are the best people that life has to offer, and we never do anything wrong. That's not being human. Being human means that you take action for the things that you've done right, just as much as you take actions for the things that you don't quite get right, and take responsibility for them as well. And refusing to do that just means that you're not mature enough, and you're going to fail in a lot of areas in your life, even at work. No matter what your work is, even at work, you might have made some decision which meant that work didn't quite go as it should have done. There were certain things that you needed to have done, but you put them on the back burner and didn't get them done. You had a tight deadline to meet certain things and you didn't do it. Take ownership, put your hands up and say, hey, I don't always get it right. I'm a human being, but here I am, ready to take accountability for my own flaws and mistakes at work and fix things and get it right so that those situations don't occur again. How many of us are prepared to do that? You have children. There's no manual for looking after children or raising children, bringing children forth. You just learn on the job as you go along. And some of the things that we do are not always the right things that we've done. You scold children when you upset yourself. Something is really playing on your mind. Your child then comes wanting your attention. You shout them down, chuck them in the room and tell them to leave you alone. Forgetting that nobody asked you to have the children. You chose to have them and they need you as their parent, right? So sometimes we do things that are not in alignment. The things that we do are wrong things, but we still do them nonetheless. But very few of us are actually willing to accept that what we've done is wrong and prepared to do the necessary things that are going to be required in order for us to not repeat those errors in our lives. And so you see people running around and just rolling by like a washing machine, just going round and round and round the circle, because there's never a point of self-reflection where you look at on your life for the last 6 months, for the last year, for the last 5, 10 years, whatever it happens to be for you, and lay down and just think about your whole life. There's certain aspects of your life where things are not quite going how you want it to go. What is my own action in this? What is my own role in this particular area of my life that I'm trying so hard, but things are not working out? And if you're not doing no self-reflection, then I really don't know. But it's something that I feel like a lot of us don't do. Sit down and think back at the things that you've done. Look back over your life. That is the only way to make sure that in going forward, you're not making or repeating the same mistakes as what you did before. How many of us would self-assess ourselves? And sometimes because of the conviction that we have inside of us, if you have a living conscience, you know it yourself that this step that I took, it wasn't the right one. How do you review that on your own self and go inside the core of your being and say, yeah, this part of it, I don't think I got it right and I need to fix things. Apologize where you need to. If it's somebody's toes that you stepped on, are you actually willing to go out there, put your hands up and say, what I did was wrong, honey, and I'm really sorry for what I've done? People think that saying sorry is a weakness. It's actually a strength, because you sat down to think about what has happened and you see that what you did wasn't right. And you're taking ownership of that. It's not an easy thing to do, but it can be very easy if you're mature enough to reach this point of your life where you actually realize that we're just human beings. And yes, we don't get it right 100% of the time, but very few of us actually will take accountability for what we've done. And it's important that you set goals for your own self and use those goals as a stepping stone to improve your own self. There is no progress and there's no maturity if you're not looking at yourself constantly and reviewing and reflecting and thinking, what are the things that I can change? How can I change it? What can I do to be better? If you think you've arrived and you're good enough and there's no room for improvement, then you fail at many things. Because no matter how good you are, there's somebody who's always going to be better than you. If you think you're beautiful, there's somebody prettier than you. If you think you're handsome, there are people that are more handsome than you. If you think that you're intelligent, there are people who are A-stars, right? So if you want to grow as a person, if you want to succeed, if you continue to humble yourself and see yourself as just a human being made from clay, nothing else but clay, right? And if you're prepared to eat that humble pie and say to yourself that, hey, I'm taking accountability for my own life and my own actions or the lack of it is part of progress and maturity, and I'm prepared to own it, except that I also had a role to play in the things that haven't quite gone well in my life, my darling, you will grow, you would make progress, you would become a better person in your life. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is doing away with blame game, because it's something that we are yes, we always want to blame others and witchcrafts for our mishaps. Thank you so much, my brother. I miss you so much. How have you been? We refuse to assess our own selves and take ownership of what we've done. Hey, Mama V, how are you doing? How is Accra? I see you're having a good time. I'm just waiting for you to come back so I can come bug you. How are you, darling? Right? But taking ownership and responsibility for your own life and doing away with blame game. When you haven't done your own due diligence and you just walk into some kind of a marriage or relationship with somebody and it backfires, you go and blame your poor mom sat somewhere thinking about herself, that she is responsible for what you've done. Or you allow other people to make you believe that your mishaps are not your own fault, but that of somebody else. We Africans, we're very good at that. We spiritualize everything when half of the time the source of our own problems is our very own selves, because we haven't done the due diligence that we're supposed to be doing, and then we end up in crisis situation. And because we as human beings are not naturally equipped or put in a place where we're able to do self-reflection, it's actually a skill that you learn. It's quick to blame everybody else. It's actually much easier to push the responsibility of the failure of your life on everybody else but your own self. And you find that when you do that, you just remain the same. You keep on repeating the same mistakes time after time after time, because you've never done that self-evaluation, self-assessment. Why is this thing not working? Why? What is it that I'm doing that is causing this thing to not work out? How can I be better? What do I need? We never ask ourselves those questions. We always blame everybody else for things that are not working out in our lives. And one of the biggest lessons I have learned is that the worst possible time to act out of, the worst possible time, I'll repeat it again, the worst possible time to act out anything in your life is when you're desperate. Because when you're desperate, common sense goes out of the window. You're not thinking, you just do things because of the way you feel. Acting out of emotions and out of desperation is the worst possible thing that you can do to yourself. Don't let anybody deceive you into thinking, hey, your biological clock is ticking, and so, everybody is getting married, so you also ought to get married when you're not ready for marriage. Do you even know what marriage is? My brother Kenny says self-pity and wallowing in pity, or pity party, and learned helplessness. Exactly. Because society will always make you feel inadequate if you allow it to make you feel inadequate. If you know who you are as a person, you don't need anybody to validate you, right? But a lot of us don't even know who we are as a person. Have you actually sat down and asked yourself the question, who am I? Who is me? Who is Sika? Who is Kenny? Who is Yolandi? Who are you? We don't ask ourselves those questions. So you don't know who you are. So you're just like, I don't know, a piece of paper that is being blown up in the wind. It's raining, you get wet, the wind blows, it picks you up, throws you across and, pushes you somewhere. And then you're in the bushes somewhere, it blows again and it takes you wherever it takes you. But if you take accountability for your own self, your own life, your own actions or inactions, my darling, that is progress. That is the only way that you can actually sit down and, look at things that are going on in your life, assess it, decide, is there something that I need to take out of it? Is there something that I need to add to it to make it better? Are there people that I can love, I can learn from to become a better person? And hey, one thing I'll say to you is never despise or look down on anybody, because there's always a lesson that you can learn from anyone that you have in your life. Sometimes the temptation is great that once you think you've arrived, now I'm okay, I have a job, I've built a house, I'm married, I've got children. So those people that are in my life that don't have a spouse, they don't matter. They're not that important in my life. I don't need them anymore. Or those people down there that may not have the things that you now have, or those people. And look down on anybody, because there are always valuable lessons that you can learn from anybody and everybody. on the surface of the planet, the people that have led the life ahead of you. I always like to hang out with people that are 15, 20, sometimes even 30 years older than me. I find myself in the best company when I'm with my dad or my mom and her friends and people like that, because I learn so much from their conversations, the things that they say, so many nuggets in that. These are people who've gone ahead of you. They've done things. They can look back on their lives and reflect on things and tell you the very things not to do. But how many of us actually have any respect for the elderly or think that we can learn anything that is valuable from them? We think we've arrived, we are the best things that happen in this life. You know, sometimes when I look at my nieces and nephews now, they're 10, 12 and counting, and they think they are so clever and intelligent, like some of the corners that they try to cut and the deals that they're trying to do, you know, with each other. It's just so hilarious because they think, you know, they arrive first and they are the most intelligent creatures ever. The things that they come up with have never been come up with before. You want them to go to school, they come up with their, oh, I don't feel very well. You know, my tummy really hurts. They just don't want to go to school that day. They're just not feeling it, right? But they've forgotten that you were also just a child just like them. And you also did all those things to try to get out of situations that you weren't feeling at the time. My brother Kwame says most of our failures started the moment we started blaming and not taking charge for our own or owning our own parts in the things that we did. Thank you so much, my darling. And I'm so happy that you understand full well what I'm talking about here. Blame game is the worst possible thing you can. If this person hadn't done this, then I also wouldn't have done that. So somebody comes out on social media and insults you and says the most horrific things to you. So because you're also in your feelings and whatever, you also come out and say the most horrific things to try and get a number on them for what they did to you. But you know what? Sometimes in trying to defend yourself and in trying to make yourself look good, you actually leave a lot of mark on you. Yeah. You actually leave a lot of mark on you and your brand. Somebody doesn't know what has happened, and all they're seeing is you being out there and being outraged and shouting and screaming and saying all kinds of things, and all of a sudden they don't like you anymore and they leave. But nobody actually knows the backstory, that it was somebody that has provoked you to do the things that you have just done, that has ruined everything that you have done for yourself. You have to understand that in this life, you're not going to be for everybody. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Some people will love you, absolutely love the socks off you, no matter how bad or good you are. And some people, no matter what you do, it's never going to be good enough. And if you're mature enough, you have to get to a place where that is a comfortable place to be. Jesus Christ himself was not loved by his own people. Okay, so if you want to make any progress in your life, you need to understand and come to a place of acceptance that not everybody is going to love me. And you need to be fine with that. If you can do that, you've made progress in your life. If we act out of impulse, or we are very reactive people do things to us, and then out of that, we also quickly think that we also have to do things. Honey, half of the times you do the wrong things. So how do you take accountability and ownership for your own life? What are the things that you need to do so that you can always make sure that you are grounded and rounded in your actions or the lack of it on the surface of this earth? Unbeknownst to a lot of you, there are people that may be older or younger than me. There are people that I love so dearly that I don't want to do anything to make them feel like their association with me was the worst thing that happened. Because I have so much reverence and respect for these people. No matter what anybody does, I will always go back to them. They're not very many. But I'll always go back to these people and say, this and this and that and that and that is what has happened. What should I do? Those people help me to stay grounded, and hold me accountable for my actions or the lack of it. And everybody needs to have those kind of good friends and good people in your life. People that you definitely have respect and regard for. Because those people hold you accountable and make you grounded. And we all need that. We're all human beings. You can't get it 100% all of the time. If that's what you're trying to do, you would fail miserably. Find you somebody that you have a lot of respect for. You don't want to upset or offend. You want those people to be in your corner. You want those people to fight for you and be there for you. And make sure you don't step on those people's toes, because they are the angels of your life that help you to stay grounded and focused on the things that are going to make you a better person. You need to check the people that you're associating yourself with. If the next 5 people you talk to on a regular basis don't have the things that you are aspiring to have, honey, it is time for you to pack those friends and find other people. You need people that inspire you to be better. You need people that motivate you to be a better person constantly. And so you've achieved this. Okay, so what's the next thing, and the next, and the next, and the next? So sometimes you find out you've outgrown the people that are around you, the circles that you keep. Yeah, it's gone a bit stale. You don't have to make any public announcement that, you know what, henceforth, I don't want nothing to do with you anymore. You know, bugger off and I need somebody else. You just need to limit the time that you spend with them and focus on the other people that are going to hold you and get you to the next level of your destiny. When you do wrong, there is no shame in taking ownership of what you've done and apologize for it. Saying sorry is so hard for a lot of us. My brother Kwame says cutting ties. Yes, cut ties with them in a very responsible and sensible manner. You don't have to make no big announcement. You know, you just slowly but surely, and you see sometimes those relationships, they just kind of fall by the wayside by themselves. You don't even have to do much. Keeping in touch with people these days, with me, for example, I ain't got no time. So if I make time for you, I love you. But if that love is not being appreciated, or you think you're okay by yourself, I'll just slowly but finally just take myself away from that and focus on other things. It doesn't mean I don't love you, I do. But I have my own destiny to fulfill too. So if you're not going to value me as a person in your life, then I'll nicely take myself away from that. These are all personal development things that we're talking about. It's like personal development 101. If there's something specifically that you have pinpointed that you want to talk about behind closed doors, go to www.sikaeducates.com. Book yourself a coaching session and come, let's talk one-on-one. And figure out your own personalized roadmap that you as a person need to undertake yourself to move yourself from where you're at to where you need to be. Okay? Now, the other thing I was talking about was learning to apologize when you do wrong. The worst thing that you can do is to allow people to have grudges with you. You're not perfect. Sometimes you don't get it right. Take ownership of that. And just say you're sorry. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't make you a weak person. Actually, if anything, it makes you a stronger you. And I would have the utmost respect for you that you have taken ownership of what you've done and are apologizing for it. Another thing that I want to say is that you need to be open and transparent. It's www.sikaeducates.com. Sika educates us in the page, SIKA educates oneword.com. Right? Be open and transparent about everything that you do in your life. One of the things that I have that can also sometimes be to my own detriment is that My life is an open book. I don't have anything to hide from you. I just say it as it is. If you love me, you love me. If you don't, you don't. And I've come to a place where I'm just fine with that. I'm not going to be your cup of tea. You don't have to love me. It just is what it is. Okay? Now, having that kind of a persona or being that kind of a person can sometimes be a good thing and can sometimes also be used as a weapon against you. So you need to have a fine balance with that. But absolutely and emphatically, always be open and transparent about everything that you are doing. If there's something that you're doing that you cannot be proud of for other people to see, it means that you yourself, you know that what you're doing, it's not very good. So that's your cue to not do the said thing. Hello, Sister Betty. How are you doing, sweetheart? I hope you're doing good. Whatever comes out of your mouth has to be something that you can be proud of and you can be committed to and take ownership of. So if you know effing and blinding, it's not something that's a characteristic trait that you want to be associated with, or you want everybody to associate you with or tag you with, then I think effing and blinding is something that you need to get rid of from your life, because it's not something that you can own. It's not something you want attached to your brand as a person or as whatever you are, right? That's an example. So take ownership for the things that come out of your mouth. And sometimes when you're about to say something, people find that sometimes when I'm about to talk, I would hesitate a bit because I'm turning the words over in my mind and thinking, is this thing going to come out the right way? And if I say it like that, is that the best way to say it before I say it? Because once it gets out there, you can't take it back. You can't take it back. You said it. It's out there. Right? So if it's not something that you can take ownership of and be proud of that you said, please turn it over in your mind first before you rattle it out of your mouth. Because once you put it out there, you can't take it back again. Always think about the other person. That doesn't mean you're being stupid. And when people are taking advantage of you, just lie on your back and allow people to have their way with you. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that in everything that you do, always think about where the other person is at and how your actions or the lack of it would affect the other people that are in your life. And that is tying in very nicely to the things that we will be talking about tomorrow, which is emotional intelligence. It is something that is lacking, very much so, especially in our community. Just rattle everything out. Don't care about how what you're saying is affecting the next person that is sat next to you. Emotional intelligence and the lack of it. We'll talk about that extensively tomorrow. The last thing that I want to say is that as a person, there will always be people that will come at you. Especially if you're a public figure, especially if you talk a lot like I do. There's going to be people that love you, and there's going to be people that are going to try to sidetrack you just to divert attention from the thing that you're trying to talk about, the education or whatever it is that you're providing, and get you consumed in things that don't matter. Sometimes silence is just golden. I tend to ignore a lot of people when they say things that don't even make any sense. Or if I disagree with you, I just won't say anything. Sometimes I'll just say, hey, you know, I get your point. Let's just agree to disagree on that and just leave it like that. Because, you know, you have a mission and a destiny to accomplish. You ain't got that much time to get soaked in and zapped into things that don't matter. You're not going to give accounts of what you've done to people. Have you lived your destiny? Have you fulfilled everything? Have you lived your best life? Those are the things that are going to matter at the end of the day. Have you been impactful? Does anything that you have to say make sense? Is this something that somebody can take on and actually learn valuable lessons out of? If the answer is yes, hallelujah. But if the answer is no, then it's time for self-reflection and time for you to think about these things in your dealings with people. That is what I want to leave you with today. If you haven't heard anything that I've said, it is important that you reflect on your life and the things that you do. And it's important that sometimes you have to respond, but you don't have to react. Response, react. we for a very long time, I thought they were the same things, but they are not. One comes from a place of emotions, which is reaction. It comes from a place of, emotions are very good. It's a very good part of our lives. It allows us to feel human and be able to have connections with other people. We're not robots. We actually feel. When fire burns you, you feel it, right? When you're cold, you feel it. So emotions and feelings are great things to have. But if you also don't have a handle on it to control it, you allow it to control you, and it absolutely destroys your life. Emotions can ruin everything. If you're a reactive person, it can ruin everything. Okay? So these are the things that I want you to think about today. It's very sad that when we talk about things that are elevating, educative, and things that are going to make us better people, there aren't very many people that are interested in that. That's sad. But at the end of the day, and now as I come to reflect on things, somebody said to me a couple days ago, I was at a function, and the person said, if in this whole life, it is even just one person that you're able to inspire to become a better person, I want you to understand that your work on earth is done. When she said it at first, I'm like, who says I want to just talk to one person? But then when I thought about it, it made perfect sense. Sometimes it can be very difficult when you're trying to do something and you think that, this is something for everybody. But the people are more interested in the gossip and the bad news and who did what and whose nyash is showing and who did what. It can be quite unfortunate. But at the end of the day, your tribe would always find you, regardless of how long it takes. There's somebody out there that absolutely loves the socks off everything or anything that it is that you are doing. We are not all the same. We are gifted differently. We have different talents. I can't draw to save my life. I cannot draw. Oh, my mom sent me pictures of some of the things that I was drawing when I was a child. On a day when I have time for us to have good laughs, I will share some of those pictures with you. You will laugh till you pee in your pants because it is that much funny. You are not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and you have to be comfortable with that. We all bring different things to the table. I can't be a doctor to save my life. I am so squeamish with blood. It makes me sick. I can't do it. I can't be a nurse. I have all the love for people. I will help anybody that needs help. But to do that as a job on a daily basis, nah, that's not me. So you just need to know yourself, figure out who you are, and take accountability for your own actions or the lack of it in everything that you do in your life. For those of you who love me, please send me stars to keep these kinds of video content. Keep them coming, right? It's not for free to do all of these things. Get all the streaming apps and this, that, and the other. This is free education that you're getting. People think that education is sitting in a classroom and, learning. But that's education. But that's not the only form of education. This is informal education, and it's education too. If any of what I've said makes sense to you, please share this video on your own personal profile, because there are other people out there who also need to hear what I've said today, and it might just change a life. There is a YouTube channel also called Sika Educates. Please. There's almost 60,000 of us here. I just need 10% of us on YouTube. Sika Educates. If you haven't subscribed already, please, at the end of this video, just go over to YouTube, Sika Educates, and just hit the subscribe button. That's all I'm asking. Doesn't cost you anything to do that for me. Just because you love me. That's it. Not for any other reason. Okay? The last thing I would say is this, is that Tap Tap Send is this new app that we are all using to send remittances to our family and loved ones back home. If you haven't already downloaded this app, you are missing out, because me, I've been using it for some time now, and it's absolutely amazing. The rates are out of this world. Download the app on your Android, Apple, whatever phone you use, right? The promo code to use to get the extra bonuses on your first transaction is AKUSIKA, which is my full name. AKUSIKA. Okay, use that on your first transaction and you get extra money to send to whoever you're sending it to. It's $15 in the States and in Canada. It's €5 if you're in Europe, and £5 if you're in England. Do this to support me, support you, and let's together make this place a happier place for all of us. So please share the video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, send me stars, or use Tap Tap Send. Okay? Or do all of it. I love you so much, guys. I really do. And I want to see us all making something out of our lives. Like, you can't just be here and just kind of lackadaisically walk back and forth on the planet and then your time is up and you're gone. No impact. Nobody remembered that you were here. That's not what I want to see. There is something inside of you that the world has been waiting for. You just need to tap into your inner self and find out what that thing is and put yourself out there. And that thing would serve you and change your life. Mine is having a big mouth. You see my mouth, very big. That's what I have. That's the talent that I was given, to use it to talk. When I don't talk, I become sick. So I'm using my mouth. That's mine. You find yours. Yours could be drawing. Yours could be hair braiding. Yours could be anything. Anything. But it will serve you, because that is the gift, the talent that the heavens gave you to help you to become the person that you need to be. So that is what you need to do. More blessings to you too, my darling. Take care. Look after yourself. Happy Monday. And I hope that I've inspired you into something. Take ownership and accountability, responsibility for your own life, and see the things that actually transform in your lives. Kwame, I love you so much. Thank you for seeing you, Sister Mabel, my brother Francis. There's so many of you. I think I saw my sister Tolu initially, Lynette, Sundu, Esther, Kelechi, Dauni, Samson, Sister Betty, Emmanuel, Solomon. Oh, if I keep going, I'll miss some of the names. Kela, I love you so much. Fina, thank you so, so much. Have a lovely, lovely day. I love you, and it's time for work. Take care. Mwah. Bye.